Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Candidate Forum for United States Congressional District 3. I am Paula Lee, a member of the League of Women Voters of Sacramento County, and tonight's moderator. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan, nonprofit volunteer organization of women and men. We keep that name, because of the historical significance, but we are open to all. Our mission is to encourage participation in government through education and advocacy, and the League does not support, oppose, or even evaluate candidates or political parties. However, we do take positions on policy issues, including ballot measures and legislation. And we take these positions based on our thorough studies and consensus process. So, if you are interested in helping build civic participation in government, we invite you to join the Sacramento County League. We're open to all. We have active committees working on voter education and engagement, homelessness and housing, criminal justice, climate change, and ranked choice voting. The questions tonight were solicited in advance, and we have many questions and many candidates, as you see, 8 candidates. And so as a result, we are adding something a little different, experiment here, a lightning round of questions which will precede our regular format. The candidates for Congressional District 3 in alphabetical order they're seated this way now. Chris Bennett, Bera, Christine Bish, Pacey Cervantes, Heidi Hall. Laura is not here, so Chris Richardson and Robb Tucker. I will be rotating the speaking order. Each candidate is going to make a 1-minute opening statement, and then we will begin these rapid questions that will require the candidates. Now listen, candidates, we are requiring you to respond yes or no to each question, followed by a quick, see those timers there? They'll be on ya. A quick 15 seconds to provide any clarification. Now, sometimes you might just want to say on some of these, yes or no, and that's it. But often, of course, nothing's that simple, right? Yes or no. And we recognize that. But the 15 seconds is for you to clarify. We really realize there's not time to respond in detail the questions to these lightning round questions. Just know that we realize there's not time for the detail that you would like to give. The intent of this round is for voters to get to know you a little better and to have some variety. And we think this might be a way to do it, to cover more issues quickly, because when there's 8 candidates, it takes time. So then we'll resume our regular format, and because there's so many of you, we're going to reduce the time for answering the questions to 1 minute, and then you'll have a 1-minute closing statement, and the timers are right there in the front row. They are Claudia and Morgan, League volunteers, and they'll let you know when you must stop talking, and the second round they'll let you know when you have 15 seconds left before the stop sign. So we're going to begin with an opening statement from Chris Bennett.
Can you hear me okay? Okay. Good evening, and thank you to the audience and the League of Women Voters for your tireless commitment to preserving and strengthening our democracy. I'm Chris Bennett, a disabled Army veteran, an officer with a leadership background in computer science, data analytics, and cybersecurity, and a Master of Business Administration from UC Berkeley. I was raised conservative, but I like to say I got radicalized by Bernie Sanders in 2015, and I've been a progressive ever since. I've been to every corner of the district, and I've truly fallen in love with the natural splendor and the deep sense of place and community. Now, we may come from different places and political perspectives, but we're all facing the same challenges. In rural areas, the biggest export is our children. People can't find work, or we're being paid starvation wages. We're worried about losing our homes to floods, fires, and medical debt, if we can even afford one at all. The climate's being destroyed by illegal wars and greed-based resource extraction, and prices keep going up while retirement feels like a fantasy. We all know things need to change, so tonight I'm excited to tell you about the platform that people like you have helped us build.
Thank you. I'm Bera, your current congressman for this part of the community. Doctor by training, son of immigrants, lifelong Californian. It's been the honor of my life to serve this community for the last 14 years, to deliver resources, to try to be present. The thing I'm most proud about is, I was asking my staff today, the constituent services that we do, this is the area that we serve the most. Just because of the large refugee population, Afghan refugees, Ukrainian refugees, some of the challenges in terms of food insecurity. And then, we will talk about, some of the county city challenges over the course of this, this hour. I look to continue to serve this district. I look to continue to serve the folks in the 3rd District, and also look to continue to serve the folks now in the foothills and the Sierras. That is incredibly important, and incredibly important for us to do right now.
Thank you. Christine Bish?
Bish, please.
Bish. Yeah. That's different.
You got to own it. Hello, everyone. My name is Christine Bish, and I am a candidate for Congress here in the 3rd Congressional District. A little bit about me. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I met my husband in high school. He was my high school sweetheart, even took me to the senior ball, and then he took me as his wife. Now, I'm the mother of 4. And a grandmother. 5 will be here on Saturday. Thank you. My background, I started out repossessing cars, working as an investigator in a law firm, 8 years repossessing cars, 10 years in a law firm working as an investigator, locating people, locating assets, locating witnesses. So I do like the excitement and the challenge. After retiring from the law firm, I decided to become a real estate agent and mortgage expert. And it's amazing everything that's tied together. So a lot of you may know me from my investigation into Adam Schiff, and we covered his mortgage woes. So again, my name is Christine Bish, and I look forward to visiting with you today.
Casey Cervantes.
Yes. Are you guys enjoying the preview of the heat wave we're getting this weekend? By the way, climate change, a big thing, obviously. So I was actually really excited when I found out that this forum was going to be in Arden Arcade, because this is really a hometown for me. It's the town that I moved to originally over 15 years ago. When I moved to Sacramento, I moved into the fountains in Arden, not the ones in Roseville, then the Archer on Fulton. This is where I bought my first house, a 900 square foot small little bachelor pad. Arden Arcade is where I got engaged, it's where I got married, and unfortunately it's where I got divorced. However, I will tell you that I have been a trusted voice in the community for 15 years. I've been on the radio, 105.1 KNCI, now 100.5, V101 KPK. I got this community through COVID with my voice. I got this community through heat waves, through shootings, through so many things, and I know this area very well. I do know that this area needs affordable health care, it needs affordable child care, and it needs to turn monopoly utility companies like PG&E into not-for-profit community organizers. I cannot wait to tell you more about that.
Heidi Hall.
Thank you. My name is Heidi Hall, and I'm running for Congress to fight for our communities here where I have lived and served as county supervisor in Nevada County for the last 9 years. When Democrats retake the majority, I'll work with them to stop this administration in its tracks. Trump has demolished the institutions that protect us, and we will need to rebuild. But we cannot go back to the way things were before. We need to build something better. For 3 decades, I've built programs to protect the environment while working at the EPA and the Department of Water Resources right here in Sacramento. As supervisor, I've delivered where sitting politicians have failed, building a homelessness program from the ground up. I've worked with the critical institutions that Trump has destroyed: FEMA, EPA, HHS, DOT. I know what they do, and I know what's been lost. This isn't just a campaign for me, it's a continuation of the work I've given my life to. I'm asking for your support and would be honored to have you join me in this fight.
Chris Richardson.
Hello. Is this live?
Yeah, I heard your breath on it.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Hi, my name is Chris Richardson. I'm the Green Party candidate, and we are in a very different world than we have been. and we can no longer afford our imperialism. And we've been spending so much on militarism that we need to start working towards helping the people. Single-payer health care, definitely. We need better housing and support for the homeless, and education, definitely more education, focusing on problem solving rather than just rote. We need to be thinking in ways of actually solving problems. And the economy, or the ecology, is very important. And if we get off of oil, we can afford to do a lot of these things.
Robb Tucker?
Hi, Robb Tucker. Thanks for coming out. I was born and raised in CD3. I currently live in CD3, which I think a couple of us up here do. I owned a business for decades in CD3. I currently serve on the Nevada County Board of Supervisors in CD3, and I'm raising my kids in CD3. I think just about half of us up here, if you add the combined times, primary and general, they've run for Congress over 30 times. It's my first time running for Congress, and I think it's about time we stop sending the same people, talking about the same things, and nothing changes here in CD3 and California. The politicians in Sacramento and DC have failed us. We keep paying more, and the outcomes keep going down. So I'm running for Congress to protect our children's future, and thanks for being here.
Okay, time for the lightning round, and we're going to begin with Chris. And remember, please answer yes or no. Yes or no? Do you support a congressional stock trading ban?
Yes, 100%. Stock trading on the inside is literally insider trading, which is stealing from our retirement accounts.
Yes, I'm a co-sponsor of the bill to ban stock trading, and as soon as I got elected, we sold any individual stocks and put them all in mutual funds.
Yes, and when elected, we will sell off our stock and move forward.
Yes, congressional people get paid more than enough. They don't need more.
Yes, I've signed the Unrig Washington Pledge, which is a ban on dark money, as well as a ban on stock trading in Congress.
Yes, definitely. We need to straighten out how things are done, and we need to be working towards getting services to the people.
Yes, we need leaders and not day traders in suits.
Hey, 7 yeses. Okay, Ami Bera, yes or no? Do you believe there is substantial voter fraud?
No. We saw the 2020 presidential election. That's the most litigated election ever, and there was very little voter fraud.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Didn't know it was going this way.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I do, and we won't know until we fully investigate it. If you go to website greatamericanrebirth.com and look up Sacramento, you'll get a taste of the investigation that I have done.
No, I don't. Like Representative Bera said, it's been investigated enough. The only reason that this is a topic is because President Trump's small ego. Sorry, big ego, small everything else.
No, I don't believe there's voter fraud. Multiple investigations and courts run by both Republicans and Democrats have showed that to be the case.
No, I definitely am tired of the Democrats and the Republicans giving us the same two sides of the same coin.
Clearly, there's been some voter fraud. Humboldt County just yesterday found 597 ballots that weren't counted from Prop 50 at the bottom of a voter bin. So voter integrity is primary in our democracy, and I think we need to do everything we can to make sure it's respected.
Okay, watch those timers. You have 15 seconds, but you're doing really good on those. Okay, Christine. Oh, yeah, right, Chris. Yes, sorry.
No, voter fraud is not an issue, but voter suppression absolutely is, and we should be making it so more people can be part of our political process, not fewer.
Okay, Christine, yes or no, do you accept corporate PAC money? Not
Absolutely
corporate money,
not.
but corporate PAC money for your campaign?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not, and we need dark money out of this because that's how you get the corrupt politicians on both sides of the aisle.
No, I don't take corporate PAC money. I also don't take APAC money.
No, I do not take PAC money, and it's buying influence.
No, I have not taken PAC money, but I am open to, I'll leave it at that.
Chris?
No, and I will never take corporate PAC money because it is legalized bribery, and I think we need to get money out of politics and overturn Citizens United.
Bera?
I have taken PAC money, and again, it doesn't affect the way I vote, and I voted against those interests.
Okay. Casey Cervantes, yes or no? Would you support?
What? No, I answered first.
Yeah. So would you support the expansion of the Supreme Court?
So yes, because there are 13 courts of appeals and there are only 9 justices, so we really, regardless of who nominates them, there really should be 13 Supreme Court justices.
Yes, I support the expansion of the Supreme Court. It's been completely politicized. It needs to be reformed, and expanding it is one of the answers to that problem.
I agree. We need to have term limits on the judges, definitely.
Absolutely not. It's ironic to me, we're talking about voter integrity suppression on one side, and then we're talking about this, and we're all sitting here because of Prop 50, the gerrymander that completely changed this district.
Yeah.
Yes, we absolutely need to expand it. We also need binding rules of ethics, and I also think we need to expand the number of states and the number of representatives.
Yes, I'd consider doing that. I'd consider age limits, term limits. I also, we've seen some of the unethical behavior of some of our Supreme Court justices, so I certainly think we need ethics limits as well.
Absolutely not. I do not think the other branches of government should influence the Supreme Court. And on Prop 50, it went to the Supreme Court and they made their ruling. We are up here running under the jurisdiction of the current court.
Heidi Hall, last week the federal government agreed to pay an energy company $102 million to cancel its offshore wind project off the California coast and invest in fossil fuel projects instead. Yes or no on this idea?
Absolutely not. We need to get off oil and gas. There are already $95 billion worth of subsidies going to that industry. We should be investing in alternative energy, clean energy, especially now as we see gas prices go through the roof and this war that's going to continue for a while.
Absolutely. We need to stop our dependence on oil. Oil has been a cancer on our society. It has caused a lot of problems that are not abundantly obvious. Stop? Okay.
Can you repeat the question? He said absolutely, and I don't think he knew what you were saying.
Oh, I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
Yes, and if you can't hear me, let me know. Last week, the federal government agreed to pay an energy company $120 million to cancel its offshore wind project off the California coast and invest in fossil fuel projects instead. Yes or no to this idea? Do you believe in offshore wind projects or not? I guess is the question.
Do I start or what?
Yeah, did you
already
answer?
answered. I'll go. To
Okay.
the question of should we be investing in fossil
Okay.
fuel, yes. And I think we're seeing it now with the current military operation. Had we not been somewhat energy self-dependent, we'd be in a lot of hurt. It is a national security issue as well.
No, we need to be expanding our funding into renewable energy, and I also think we need to make the fossil fuel companies pay for flood and fire insurance to actually get them to stop polluting and destroying the climate.
No, we definitely need wind energy. I was part of the Congress that passed the largest climate change legislation in the history of this world.
I agree with reimbursing the company that had those contracts for the wind turbines, but the truth is they endanger wildlife, not only the birds that are getting killed, caught in them, they don't know that those things are spinning, and we've also seen off the coast of New Jersey where it's disrupting mammals. We're seeing whales and dolphins all injured by these turbines. We don't need them.
No, because you know what's not caught up in the Strait of Hormuz right now? Solar and wind.
All right. This would be Chris Richardson. Yes or no, do you believe Israel is committing genocide as reported by many human rights organizations?
Try that again.
Yes or no, do you believe Israel is committing genocide as reported by many human rights organizations?
Definitely yes.
Rob?
Absolutely not. I've been to Israel, I've been to the West Bank, and that's dangerous rhetoric, using those terms, in my opinion, for a very complicated situation, and it doesn't help.
Yes, I was an Army officer. What they are doing is genocide. They're committing war crimes, and I think we need to cut them off completely from U.S. funding and U.S. military support.
No. Just waste time.
I wouldn't use the term genocide, but what Benjamin Netanyahu has done in terms of how he's prosecuted this war is atrocities, the needless loss of human life. Starvation is not a tool of war, and too many people are starving there. We need to get humanitarian aid into Gaza.
I support the state of Israel and want to see the people who are living in the West Bank rise up, get rid of the terrorists that are running their country so they can have normal, stable lives.
It is absolutely genocide, and it is all done by one person, Benjamin Netanyahu. We are now the United States of Israel, and we are no longer the United States of America, and we need to rebuild Gaza and give it back to the Palestinian people.
Yes, even the UN last October determined that this was a genocide, as have other human rights organizations. We need to stop enabling Israel to continue this genocide and to start a new one in Lebanon.
Robb Tucker, would you support Medicare for all or a single-payer national health care plan?
No, I think we need accountability and more efficiency, but when they say single payer, that means every single one of us is going to pay. We've seen what government does when they take on vast systems like that, and it's going to get worse if we turn that over to the government. So, no, I don't support single payer health care.
Yes, I support Medicare for all, single-payer, universal health insurance covering vision, hearing, dental, gender-affirming, and reproductive care. We also need to rein in big pharma companies and stop allowing them to advertise directly to patients.
I would support universal coverage with a single funding source so every American has basic access to health care, basic coverage. If they get sick, they can go see a doctor. And if they get really sick, they don't have to worry about going bankrupt. And that could be funded by the federal government.
Everyone can see a doctor if they need to. Emergency rooms cannot turn people away. And if you're in a high fire area, you have already seen what a single payer system looks like. It's called the California Fair Plan. And as more people are canceled on their home insurance, we see the damage of a single payer system.
There is a slight difference between universal or single payer and Medicare for all. I'm for Medicare for all, and that is because everyone deserves health care without going bankrupt. We are the only country in the world where people have to file for bankruptcy after their medical care that they cannot afford.
Yes, I support Medicare for all. Our health care system is broken, and our Congress has failed us completely in not trying to fix this problem. We know that this works in industrialized countries all over the world, and we are behind the curve, and we're hurting our own people by not fixing this.
An example of single-payer health care is Venezuela. And when we took over Venezuela, we destroyed that because they were trading oil to Cuba for doctors. That's how they got single-payer health care.
Chris Bennett, do you support the California voter ID measure that will be on the November ballot?
I think that any kind of voter ID needs to be accompanied, or well, I guess the answer is I'm not sure because I haven't read too much about it, but I think that any voter ID needs to be paid for by the government, otherwise it constitutes an illegal poll tax under the Constitution.
I'd be very careful about having voter ID laws that make it harder for people to vote. We should be doing everything to make sure every eligible voter can get out there and vote. That's core to our democracy.
Our constitutional republic understands that we do need voter ID, and if you have trouble getting one, if you, homeless centers, even going to the Department of Motor Vehicles, there is already a fee waiver form in California and all of the other states. So an ID is available to anyone who qualifies.
Pacey?
No, because it becomes a poll tax, because even though, yes, they have some waivers, it is sometimes difficult, sometimes they don't know about it, sometimes they can't get access to it because getting to the DMV and back and all that stuff. So no, we should be making sure that more people are able to vote instead of suppressing the vote.
No, I do not support this. This is another attempt to suppress the vote and make sure that certain people can vote and other people cannot, and make it harder for many of us.
Yes, we should not have voter ID. It is, again, a blockage of people to get to the poll, and we need more people being represented and not fewer. Ranked choice voting.
Rob?
Yes, I support it, along with the vast majority of Californians and Americans. It's common sense. We're one of the few democracies that doesn't do it nationwide, and I do support voter ID.
Bera, do you support the one-time wealth tax on billionaires that will be on our California November ballot?
Yeah, I think we certainly should explore how we tax the income inequality and the billionaires in this. If it's a one-time tax, that may not accomplish what we want to accomplish. We should have a much fairer progressive tax rate, and we don't right now.
No, the billionaires are the ones who can afford to move, and they are. They're leaving California, and with that comes the economy that comes below it. The people who work for them, the companies that are moving out of California. We are destroying our economy, and now we're taxing people into that destruction.
I would say yes would be my opinion, but I would say that it needs to be federal. A one-time state wealth tax puts too much on California. They can easily move. If we do it federally, where are they going to move to? Out of America, Europe, where they get taxed out of existence? No.
Yes, I support a one-time wealth tax, but it is not nearly enough. We need to be taxing the billionaires so they're paying their fair share at the federal level. Once again, when the Democrats were in charge, they could have done more. And again, this Congress is failing us. That's why we have so many working people living paycheck to paycheck.
Definitely, we need to have this tax, if for no other reason, just to recycle the money into the population and back out. That's what's going to raise the economy.
No, California has a spending problem, not a revenue problem. It's going to result in a net loss, and the way the legislation's written, they can amend it at any time to lower the threshold. It's another tax. It's not a good idea. I oppose it.
Yes, I'm endorsed by SEIU California, which proposed it. I've endorsed the measure. I also support the federal billionaire tax. We need to be prioritizing making a rising tide that lifts all boats, because it does far more for our economy than billionaire wealth.
Christine Bish, is abortion care health care?
No, it's selective murder. I'm pro-life, and I believe that life begins at conception and ends at natural death.
Yes, because women and doctors should have their own privacy, and even if you go by the Bible terms, it says God knew you at your first breath, and so it's a fetus, it's not a baby.
Abortion care is absolutely health care. It's appalling to me that they're trying to repeal a care for women. It's going to be reproductive rights altogether. We need to push back on this strong, and we should codify reproductive health rights, including the rights of women to make their own choice about whether or not they want or need an abortion.
Definitely, we need the ability to abort a fetus if necessary. The problem is that the, this is a very important
That's it.
jurisdiction, yes.
This is a tough lightning round, because are you referring to taxpayer-funded late-term abortion? You know, there are some nuances. I'm pro-life, but this is a states' rights issue. The Supreme Court has spoken, and we're not running for Supreme Court.
Yes, I support reproductive rights. I think we need to codify reproductive and LGBTQ+ rights into the Constitution, and we need to go back to actually respecting medical and scientific consensus.
Yes, as a doctor, women should have full access to all their reproductive options, including pregnancy termination. I'm proud that, I was Planned Parenthood's Legislator of the Year as a freshman, while my wife is Planned Parenthood's vice chair of their national board. So it's a personal issue and a family issue.
Okay, Pacey. Should we be concerned about the separation of church and state in our country?
God, yes, especially with Texas. Sorry, my bad. Clearly passionate about that. I mean, especially because Texas is now forcing their schools to put the 10 Commandments in their classroom. Like, what happened to separation of church and state? So God, yes.
Yes, absolutely. Our country was founded on the separation of church and state. It's why we came to this part of the land in the first place, and we need to make sure we continue to keep that separation in place.
Yes, the separation of church and state must be upheld, the separation.
I think you asked if we're concerned. No, I'm not concerned about it. And what I am concerned about is focusing on these issues, these highly charged emotional issues, and ignoring the issues that everybody cares about in the district, which is quality of life, cost of living, education of their kids, crime. But we keep talking about these emotional issues, but I'm not concerned.
Yes, I am concerned because the Constitution is supposed to give us freedom of speech and freedom of religion, and when we oppose a religion, we are also violating people's First Amendment rights. And I also think we should not be supporting theocratic regimes overseas either, because that, in my mind, is a violation of our Constitution as well.
Yes, I certainly support blocking the erosion of separation of church and state. What makes us great as a nation is just this blend of different religions, traditions, ethnicities, cultures, and that is not what this is doing.
It's the separation of church and state, not separation of church from state. The Constitution said that deliberately, so we would not establish a single dominant religion. We need to respect all religions and allow it practiced freely.
Okay, Heidi Hall, this is the last lightning round question. There's been talk about eliminating the Department of Education. Yes or no?
Absolutely not. It is essential to help protect our children, particularly our children with special needs. It provides civil rights to those children. It helps provide funding. It helps provide training. We need to keep it.
The Department of Education is incredibly important. We need to focus more on problem solving and making things different so that the world can move on. How are okay, never mind.
Can you repeat how you framed that? I'm sorry, just so I don't.
There's been talk about eliminating the Department of Education. Yes or no?
Yes, I think that would be a great idea. The resources and decisions are best made at the local level, the state, the local school boards, and ultimately with the parents. So I would support that, and devoting those resources and the vast bureaucracy directly to the local decision makers.
No, we do need to reform it and actually make it so we're meeting students where they are instead of forcing them to train to an arbitrary standard. We also need to fully fund and staff our schools and have federal programs in place when schools can't afford to keep themselves open. I also think we need to move away from property tax-based education funding.
No, we need a Department of Education. Education's the foundation that builds the ability to reach your full potential. We can reform it, we can make changes, but we absolutely need to support our teachers, schools, and education.
I disagree with centralized government. I agree with closing the Department of Education and returning it back to the states who know the needs of their children and dividing it up going through the county. The Department of Education has caused the decline of education in this country. 29% math proficiency, 39% reading. This is a failure.
No, and like Heidi Hall said, the special needs kids are actually specifically affected by this, but also education has gotten worse only because we don't give it enough funding. So I'm actually for giving the Department of Education much more funding and doubling the salaries of teachers, if not more.
Okay, now timers, we're moving to part 2. We'll have 1 minute to answer these questions, and for the audience, these questions have been submitted by the Arden Arcade advocates and the people who live in this unincorporated area of the county, which has been long ignored. And so the League of Women Voters is happy to be here to serve you because we know we have ignored you too. And so thank you for inviting us to, and thank you for inviting these candidates to answer these questions about your community, which you don't have a city. So we're going to begin with Chris Richardson on this one. And what will you do as a member of Congress to establish and maintain communication with constituents in these unincorporated communities? How can they be assured you'll be listening to their concerns and doing your best to be responsive?
Well, I would definitely set up a Dropbox where they can send emails and phone calls if necessary to talk to me and get my opinion on things and give me a chance to help formulate a policy. And, you know, this is the thing. FDR had a way of generating new programs, and when they worked, they kept them, and if they didn't work, they dropped them. But they went through an awful lot of evolution of the economy and that had me fooled for a minute. But this is the sort of thing that should allow us to percolate improvements.
I'm going to start my timer. I would communicate the same way I would want to be, directly, proactively, consistently. I'm a business owner. I know what it's like to be ignored. And so as a congressman, I would make sure the community has a seat at the table. That's the local chamber, local business organizations, so on and so forth. In Nevada County, my district is the only one that doesn't have a census designated place or incorporated town. So I know the challenges of living and serving in a place that doesn't have maybe a seat at the table with the outweight influence of cities. So that's how I would do it, the way I would want to be represented, and make sure that the community has a seat at the table.
So I think one of the big issues that we face right now is that it feels like we literally can't get a hold of our representatives. So for me personally, I always have Tuesday chats every single week that we're going to continue doing even after we get elected, where anyone can hop on, talk about whatever matters to them. I'm also committing to having in-person town halls at least once a year in every region of the district. I will continue showing up in person and spending as much time as I can here and as little time as possible in DC besides being there for votes and debates. And And I also will give you my phone number. It is 580-450-1303. You can text me, you can call. It might take me a little while to get back to you, but I think if you can't call your representative, then I don't know how they're supposed to be able to represent you. And besides that, I just really think that we need more representatives in Congress who have the kind of approach that I'm trying to bring to the table. And we're trying to connect organizations and communities together because there is so much more that combines our interests than separates us.
Well, I'm really proud of the work that we've done in this district, this community particularly. The number of Afghan refugees, Ukrainian refugees, what our staff does, helping over 36,000 constituents with their veterans benefits, get their IRS refunds, immigration issues. It is working overtime. And yeah, I'd love to be here every day if I could, but if you guys have the privilege of serving in Congress, you're going to have to rely on a lot of your staff. We're present. We do library office hours. We've helped many folks in this room navigate the federal government. So that is the most important part of this job, is constituent services, is being there, helping folks, and responding to them in their time of need.
Now, I used to live at this area right at the corner of Fulton and El Camino. And that's where I brought 2 of my children home, right when we first got married. What I can tell you is the new District 3 is massive. It goes all the way up from Truckee down into a little part of Placerville. We go all the way over to Grass Valley and then back down through Arden Arcade and part of South Sacramento. To serve this community, it's going to require satellite offices, even if they're only open 1 or 2 days a week, to serve each community, because this district wasn't drawn to serve people. It was politicians getting even with each other. But it's understanding each community for what services it needs and how beautiful they are, and it's preserving that. I'm committed to serving this community that was good to me.
So, as I said before, I actually spent a big chunk of my adult life in Arden Arcade. I probably shouldn't admit this, but at first when I moved here, I didn't realize we didn't have a mayor. So when I had an issue, I went to Steinberg's office, I think he was at the time, and I was like, hey, can you help? He's like, why are you asking me? I didn't know. I don't even think most people that live in Arden Arcade don't understand that the Sacramento mayor, even though your address says Sacramento, California, is not actually the mayor. So I believe that we should provide more funding to the counties. The city of Sacramento, I feel like, gets plenty. The county of Sacramento, for these specifically unincorporated areas, really definitely needs more funding. I'm sorry, unlike Chris Bennett, I won't give you my personal number yet. However, I will get a congressional number that I will give out, and I always will tell you, I always personally answer all of my emails, and I will try to make sure that happens throughout my entire congressional tenure.
Yeah, so as a Nevada County Supervisor for the last 9 years in a almost completely unincorporated area, I've established consistent communication with my community. I have an open door policy. I'm transparent. I answer all my emails and my phone calls. I have staff involved to help me get them the right answers. But for unincorporated areas like this, that is not enough. You need to get out in the community and meet people where they are. Go to their events, not necessarily political events, but events where you can hear from the people about all kinds of issues you will never hear about if you do not do that. I commit to continuing that practice as a Congresswoman. I will also establish satellite offices in different parts of the district, have office hours through county buildings. That's something counties can offer. We do in my county. And I look forward to representing the unincorporated areas that need a fighter, which is something I've been doing for the last 9 years.
Robb Tucker. With the abundance of inexpensive rental housing, our area has hosted major groups of immigrants in recent years. The diverse immigrant groups here have become important to the local labor force and the local economy. At the federal level, however, immigration is now regarded as a problem that requires intervention. How should the federal government How should the federal government respond?
Yeah, this is such a complex issue. We tend to turn it into talking points. The immigrant community is not monolith. And I think you kind of talked about border security there. You're also talking about the immigrant community, so I don't know exactly what you want. But I'll speak to the immigrant community, which in and of itself here is very diverse. There's different situations, different communities. And I think the common ground is that they want the same thing that everybody in the district wants. They want safe streets, they want quality education, they want affordability, so on and so forth, and they're not getting it here in California. So that's what I would do. I would look at every situation, make sure we do everything we can, and in my opinion, the state of California and on the federal level, we've failed in that regard. People are paying more and getting less. We're seeing it on the streets. So, yeah. That's my time, but I would be happy to talk about border security as well, which I think is a separate issue than what you were asking.
So our immigration system used to be open borders, where it was give me you're tired, you're poor, you're hungry. You'd show up at Ellis Island and you get a new name depending on if they could pronounce it or not. And then you were an American. But after the Chinese built our railroad system, a wave of anti-Chinese racism in the late 1800s led to the Chinese Exclusion Act, which has been the genesis of our immigration system from the start. It was built on racism. We've used it to deport Mexicans in mass during President Dwight Eisenhower's presidency, and it's a problem. We need to fix it. So I support abolishing ICE because they are violating the Constitution and our rights. I think we need to pass humane immigration policy. We need to stop putting people into cages and separating families or locking up children. I also think that we need to make it easier for immigrants to live and work here legally. So we should literally be making it so that they can come here, because we are facing a demographic cliff where our population is upside down and we need more people to help us. And immigrants are a net benefit to our society. They pay taxes, they get very little in benefits, they're overwhelmingly less likely to commit a crime, and they are the people who have helped build this country.
What Donald Trump has done to this district specifically and to Afghan refugees is a bunch of BS. These Afghan refugees served side by side with our men and women. We made a promise to them. We created special immigration visas. When we withdrew from Afghanistan, we worked overtime to get those refugees out. I've traveled to Afghanistan, traveled to neighboring countries. They arrived here with that dream, with the promise that we made to them. What Donald Trump has done in the first 12 months, breaking that promise, creating fear. We work extremely closely with the refugee resettlement agencies. He's cut their funding. We are doing what we can to keep that promise, protect these folks, but he has created a culture of fear, and they are terrified. The Ukrainian refugees who also sought a better life, he is creating real challenges for them. They can't go to work. They can't serve this country. They love being in America. Again, we've got to honor the promises and the commitments that we've made to those folks.
I believe the question was about housing. Am I correct?
The question was, at the federal level, immigration is now regarded as a problem that requires intervention. How should the federal government respond?
Well, they are responding. If you are here illegally, then you're getting your deportation orders and removed. I do believe thank you. My turn. I do believe we need, for the people who are here, who were invited here by politicians on both Republican and Democrat side, should have a path to a green card, that we should have work visas and make it possible for people to live in the light of day, not in the shadows. But we cannot protect people who feed on innocent migrants, and that is in the way of crime. I support ICE and removing people who broke our laws and working with people who are hardworking. Again, a path to a green card and a work visa program.
So the federal government should respond way more humane than Donald Trump has sent his political pawns out to the streets just to get his immigration deportation numbers up. This is why we have 2 dead American citizens. I have a friend. He is under the protection of DACA, or he so thought so before Trump came onto his presidency. He is afraid to leave the house. He used to work at Target, and then ICE officers were patrolling that Target to get immigrants, and he's afraid to even work there. So he had to quit Target, and he had to try to find a work from home job because he is literally afraid to leave the house. So immigrants, let me tell you, immigrants commit less crimes than actual citizens. That is a straight up fact. And Trump also campaigned on the fact that he would only focus on criminals. Now he's still raiding farms, immigrant workers on farms that are getting food to your tables. So if you think that deporting those people are not going to make more life more expensive than it already is, then you're insane.
Our immigrants here and the immigrant community contribute to our economy and to our culture. They make us richer and better. It's insane what's happening right now with the system. As a proud wife of the son of a Mexican immigrant, been watching in my family with horror as people have been deported without due process of law, as people have been put in detention prisons, as we've seen children be detained. I am making an absolute red line with children. No one under the age of 18 should be put in a detention prison for any reason whatsoever. I support us expanding the immigration system and making it more humane and more efficient. We need to fund the judges so they can ensure that the people that we are coming into this country are eligible. We can use the internet. We can use electronic efforts to make sure people can stay in their country and apply. We need to let them stay in this country if they are not criminals and wait for their appointments and make that more efficient.
Immigrants are a big additive to the community. The Japanese who came here to build the railroads, they brought mulberries and started industries such as silk manufacturing and a lot of other additional functionalities and richness to our economy. And it wasn't intended, but it's what they did that helped expand and make America what it was.
Chris Bennett.
Huh?
I started.
Oh, you started, okay.
Oh, you started. Okay.
Wow.
Hello, nice to see you.
That's my job.
My bad.
And I'm on it. Okay. Chris, with Congressional District 3, Sacramento County has a designated environmental justice community, West Arden Arcade, but it's characterized as being high minority, disadvantaged, and low income. It is disproportionately burdened by multiple sources of pollution, exposure, inequitable public facilities and infrastructure, a lack of crime prevention and civic engagement, etc. The Trump administration has gutted federal environmental justice and climate change programs. What is your position on this, and is there anything you can do about it if you get elected?
Yeah, I am obviously against the gutting of any program that is actually helping people. I think besides authoritarian fascism, climate change is the biggest threat that we face as a civilization and as a species. So one thing that I have been doing is I'm part of a grassroots coalition of more than 150 candidates across the country who have all agreed to sign articles of impeachment on day one in office. We're also coordinating our platform to make sure we have voting bloc power. I think that we need to make it so that the polluters are the ones who are paying for all of the terrible things that they are doing to hurt our climate climate, I think we need to make sure that the people that live here have real representation. So I support getting funding for these people to make sure that we are able to attack the root cause of crime, which is almost always poverty. I think that we need to make sure that it's easier for communities to actually incorporate if that's something that they want to do, because right now it's an outrageous process. It takes way too long. It's very expensive. So fundamentally, like, our campaign is built on social, economic, and environmental justice. That's one of the reasons why I also support a nationwide moratorium on building new data centers, because they always do it in these unincorporated areas.
So I'm proud that I was one of the members of Congress that helped write the Inflation Reduction Act, helped pass the largest climate change bill in United States history. Donald Trump has, his actions withholding things that we've authorized and appropriated, the funds that are out there, are illegal. We're fighting it in court, but it takes a long time. We are winning many of those court cases. He's still not releasing those dollars. I wish I could sit here and say when we get the House majority, when we get the Senate, things will change. He'll still be in the White House. In the interim, we have to work with the County of Sacramento, the City of Sacramento, for this particular neighborhood to get the resources here. That includes, this is an urban desert, so getting more trees planted. I was on the Tree Foundation board working with our schools, working to get the EV charging stations. I can do some of that through the appropriations process. We're getting some funding for Bohemian Park and so forth, but that's the tools that we have for the next years until we get a Democratic president.
I can speak personally about the environment and the water quality, not only here in Arden Arcade, but all of Sacramento County. You see, I'm a cancer survivor, and I had kidney cancer, and it turned out that it was from the contaminated water that are in our aquifers. Now, I'm running for Congress because I reached out to my then Congresswoman, Doris Matsui, when I had discovered that in my community we had 10 wells that service the community. 7 of them had been closed because the contamination levels were too high. The 3 remaining wells had acceptable levels of contamination. It was 2 weeks later that I found out that I had that highest form of cancer, and that was kidney cancer. Now, I was very lucky. I did it without chemo, and I did it without radiation. They removed 1/3 of my right kidney. So this isn't about President Trump or any current president. This goes back to the federal government not cleaning up the toxic waste at the military bases that are in or were in California, which goes to McClellan Air Force Base, Mather Air Force Base, the old Kohler concentration camp, the Army Depot. I am serious about my commitment to cleaning up the environment.
So, I mean, speaking of climate change, we're about to break records this week on climate. It's going to be almost 100 degrees here in Arden Arcade on Monday, which is insane after we just broke a whole bunch of records in March. Do you guys remember how March felt? It was hot as hell. Pardon my language. That being said, clearly my position on climate change is a big one. I believe in bringing back the EV tax credit. In fact, I believe in doubling the EV tax credit. I have an American-made, by the way, F-150 Lightning. The F-150 Lightning was very successful until Trump took away the EV tax credit. They just discontinued it, broke my heart because I wanted another one. So that being said, the EVs are really reliant on that tax credit at the beginning, and then once people realize, oh my gosh, I'm not reliant on these gas prices, they're going to start buying them even more. However, the infrastructure for EV charging needs to be added, especially here in unincorporated Arden Arcade. They need more EV chargers. Solar tax credit also needs to come back, and solar and wind is not affected by this war in Iran. So there you go.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I believe I'm the only person up here who's spent 3 decades working on environmental issues, 20 years at the EPA, 10 years at the Department of Water Resources. It's why I've been backed by all the major environmental organizations, endorsed by them. It's also why I've been endorsed by the high school Democrats of Sacramento and California, because for young people, climate change is the defining issue of their time. The things we need to do right away are invest in green energy. We need to decommission coal-fired power plants, put a moratorium on AI data centers until we understand them better, stop our billions of dollars, $95 billion oil and gas subsidies. And we're going to have to make new laws that allow us to rejoin the Paris Accords, reestablish our relationships around the world to stop climate change, and make sure that we have set targets and goals that are achievable and enforceable. I will say also that this is something that Congress can be working on right now. They should be setting it up so that when the Democrats take back Congress, we can get started on this immediately.
Well, getting us off of oil is a really big thing, and I've been working with SMUD to see about setting up a smart grid where we actually distribute magnetic engines to the houses that have batteries. Now, the big problem with solar is you have 5.5 hours of charge a day, regardless. That's the best you can hope for. Wind, it's location, location, location. Magnetic engines run 7/24. They don't require fuel, and they generate quite a bit of energy. And you can find out more about it at magnet-motor #4u.de. That's a German
Rob?
website.
Yeah, California should be proud of its heritage in the environmental space, but we've got to realize the pendulum has shifted over these decades, and I could go down the list that I just wrote down of the issues that people care about and directly caused or complicated by over-regulation in the environmental space. Gas, there's a reason we're $2 more than any other neighboring state because of the environmental regulations. Wildfire, which is a huge concern up where we are, has been completely exacerbated by the decades of forest mismanagement. We're finally starting to do more of this. People need to realize that a 100,000-acre fire is like a carbon bomb. It's going to nullify decades of environmental regulation or whatever. Water, we're tearing down dams. We don't have enough storage due to environmental concerns. Housing, the cost to build housing because of all the regulations. So my point is, the pendulum has swung. We need to find a common sense balance because these regulations are killing us, and that's why we all pay so much, and every issue we're concerned about is affected by it.
Bera, small businesses are the backbone of any local economy and are of particular importance in our unincorporated communities. Wall Street has ways to buffer economic challenges for large corporations, but Main Street is far more susceptible to market swings. Federal policies for taxation, immigration, tariffs, and war appear to be hurting small business. What will you do to help small business deal with the effects of such federal policies?
I mean, I'd get rid of a lot of the policies that the Trump administration's put in place if we had the opportunity. The tariffs are killing small businesses. They're not going to, when the tariff refunds come back out, they're not going to go to the consumers and those small businesses. The big businesses will probably get those refunds. That's a travesty. What's happening with the war in Iran, utility prices, oil prices, that's going to trickle down into the cost of food, everything else. That's a problem. Utility prices are a major problem for small businesses. They're operating on small margins. What's happening with immigration, that is a real impact on small businesses. Many of their workers are afraid to come to work, and if they do come to work, they're just terrified. So all of these are cumulative effects that are impacting small businesses. He's also cut the funding to the SBA through some of the lending programs. So we've got to restore all of that, but we've also got to just get back to the basics. Small businesses are the backbone of this country.
Small businesses are the backbone of this country, but the truth is, our small businesses were failing during the unconstitutional lockdown. We saw people locked out of their jobs, locked out of their businesses without the ability to earn an income, and a lot of them never recovered. And that is where the federal government can help, and that's where we can come in with small business loans, with grants to reestablish those businesses. But the truth is, California is overregulated. And it's regulation from the federal government right down to the local government. We have to give them relief. We're also seeing with the crime and with the fires, the forest mismanagement, that insurance prices are skyrocketing, especially on small businesses. Now, I have designed a plan to help offset that, and that's called the Wildfire Act, to get us into a national fire insurance plan modeled after the national flood insurance, and that will help relieve the pressure on California businesses and give us all an opportunity to get out of a single-payer insurance company.
So when it comes to small businesses, they are the backbone of America in general. So my campaign slogan is Build the Billionaires. So making sure that we federally have a wealth tax. And a wealth tax can accomplish so many things, expanding affordable health care, moving towards Medicare for all, expanding affordable child care. But the other thing is it can expand dramatically tax breaks for these small businesses. Now, Representative Bera also mentioned utility prices. Another big thing about my campaign is taking on monopoly utility companies like PG&E. Now, a lot of you people here have SMUD, so what we're going to do is SMUDify PG&E. However, you guys still probably, a lot of you use PG&E for gas. I know it's hot as hell right now. However, if you remember the gas bills that we had in the winter, they were extremely high. And so doing that, making monopoly utility companies like PG&E not-for-profit, is going to dramatically help these small businesses because, yes, we pay utilities in our house, but these small businesses, they still have to heat and cool all their large places, and there you go.
Yep, I agree with much of what's been said already. The tariffs are absolutely killing our small businesses as well as our farmers and small organic farms. I talk to our small businesses in my county every day. My colleague down there, I'm sure, does as well. And we know that the tariffs are absolutely going to be killing businesses outright. In addition, what's been mentioned, the price of utilities, the terrorization of our immigrant community who provides so much of the work to help support our small businesses. And then finally, the SBA loans that Bera already mentioned. We can do so much more with those. I know, again, from being a local elected official in an unincorporated area, how often we're forgotten, how often we're asked to submit applications that are supposed to look like what a city can submit. We're left out. We have too many administrative burdens, and there is never enough money for folks in unincorporated areas. The SBA can do so much more, and I would be happy to work on that.
The problems are not going to be easily solved, but getting away from, oil and petroleum and focusing more on renewable energy that is actually fairly reasonable to get. The increase in oil costs is making it more and more profitable for the individual to go to an EV, and that's one of the things that we want to try and help with the for instance, the Sikh population. A lot of them are truck drivers, and having an electric vehicle that's able to pull a tractor trailer can be very valuable, especially if you happen to have magnetic engines on board.
I'm glad you asked because I am a small business owner who ran a family business for 20 plus years. And then we sold it after 50 years of family ownership because of the same challenges that every small business owner, if you ask, is going to tell you. Overtaxation, overregulation, cost of living, insurance increases, on and on. I started to write it down when they were talking. Frivolous lawsuits. It's the overregulation and the overtaxation that is killing businesses. I've experienced this. If you ask any small business owner, they're going to tell you that. But instead, we start talking about these other personalities or these things. We have to listen to the small businesses, understand what's killing them. A good example, too, going back to our previous conversation about some of the overregulation, housing. Housing's another one. The CEQA and the NEPA regulations have been weaponized in a way. We got to come back to the middle. We got to find some common sense solutions because it's killing the business owners. And I'm telling you, it's the state of California is where the California business owners are feeling it. Federal, we need to work on stuff too, but they're getting killed.
So I have a business school degree. I've been endorsed by the American Small Business League, and small businesses do make up the majority of the economy. However, it feels like we have given up completely on antitrust enforcement, which has allowed a ton of giant monopolies to form with consolidation across nearly every industry, which makes it very difficult for small businesses to actually compete. That's why we need to bring back antitrust enforcement. We need to break up the monopolies. We need to tax billionaire wealth. We need to pass single-payer universal health insurance with Medicare for all, because we know that actually allows more people to start businesses, and it makes it easier for small businesses to compete because they're not having to go up against health insurance plans that giant corporations have. We need to make it so that SBA is once again funded, but also that it actually funds real small businesses, because right now a lot of funding that the SBA does in theory goes to a small business, but it's actually just giant corporations hiding in a trench coat. We also need to make it so that more of SBA loans actually go to women-owned small businesses, because women own 40% of all small businesses, but more than 95% of SBA loans go to men. So I think it's time that we bring back real competition, because that is what built this country.
Christine, this is the last question before closing remarks. Our unincorporated communities were developed as post-World War II suburbs that have long since been built out. The Arden Arcade General Plan is more than 45 years out of date. By now, as documented by the advocates for Arden Arcade, homelessness and below-norm rental housing have become serious problems here. Yet the White House has proposed budget changes for the fiscal year 27 that would eliminate or significantly reduce funding for core housing programs that support development and operation of affordable and supportive housing programs that the county depends on. If elected, what will you do to take on these problems of housing in the unincorporated area?
It's a complex issue, and I do understand it, but we're also seeing massive waste, fraud, and abuse. We're also seeing changes to communities where they're building large, low-income housing in neighborhoods that were typically single-family homes. And the truth is, when we build those houses out, the infrastructure is not prepared to handle the electricity load, the gas load, the wastewater. Our roads are further deteriorating. I am concerned about the level of taxes that we are taxing homeowners, small businesses, individuals to build subsidized housing and put us into a government-owned housing program. We need to come back on the taxes, lower the building standards, and make them regional so it's easy to build homes. The cost of building a house is half of it goes before the ground even is broken. We've got to get to regional standards and lower the cost to actually build affordable homes.
So I think we can all agree that homelessness is it's not a black and white issue. For me, I do feel like, kind of like Christine Bish said, there's a lot of red tape in California that just needs to be cut, because like she said, that a lot of the stuff going on before actually building the houses is done before it's actually even started breaking ground. What I will do is say I would not vote for a budget until all the funding is added back in for the low-income housing and for the housing in general. Again, this is going to be paid for by the billionaires. A wealth tax can actually add to getting these low-income houses built. And I understand, my Republican counterparts are going to say, oh, taxing our way into this is not going to help. Listen, I'm not asking billionaires to pay more taxes than the rest of us. I'm just asking them to actually pay the same percentage that you and I do. And that is going to help with the funding of these low-income houses, and again, cutting through the red tape that California has.
So there are solutions to these problems. As a county supervisor, I've been working on these for 9 years. We need to fully fund our regional housing authorities that are critical to help us build affordable housing. We need to create more VASH vouchers. We need to make sure that our insurance costs don't go through the roof. We had a low-income housing complex that was ready to build until we got the insurance quote, and it was $250,000 a year. I'm the only person up here who's worked on wildfire insurance. I've worked with the state, with a number of counties to come up with solutions to reduce the cost to homeowners and businesses. That has to be approached with vigor. In the homelessness area, same thing. We can level up the kind of work I've done in Nevada County, which is to invest in transitional housing, navigation centers, home teams that go out and find homelessness folks and bring them in, making sure you have mental health folks on staff with the sheriff so that they can help deal with the issues that are out there. All of this is work that I have done while people talk about it and fund things the wrong way. I can level that up in Congress, and I can't wait to do that.
Well, it's interesting to hear all of this going on as far as the, my wife is an avid HGTV addict, and so I see all of these houses being built and how they've cut corners, and I've seen situations where they've built kitchens where you open one drawer, you block the other drawers, and you can't really operate a kitchen that way. There's a lot of different issues, such as just making a home livable. And we're ready to stop. There we go.
It's interesting, you preface the question with the general plan, a very local issue, homelessness, a somewhat local issue, and then the question turned to what can the federal government do to stop it? I think Californians all know the more money we throw at it, the worse the outcomes are. Homelessness, California spent $24 billion in 5 years, and it's skyrocketed. I want to compliment my colleague here, Heidi Hall, because in Nevada County, although we have spent a lot of money, a lot of it before my time, they are seeing some results. The homelessness has gone from 2 years ago, 500, they just did a count, I think 500 and something, down to 450, and now 397, so it's going down. That's the exception here in California. It's not happening. We've dealt with it up there, but what I see from a standpoint, I think California see it, is that, I'm almost done, but to have affordable housing, it has to be affordable to build. I developed a project a few years ago. I wouldn't do it again. It is so expensive, so hard to build. We got to make it easier to build, reduce the regulation. We're not going to tax our way out of it.
Yeah, so ACE has found that every $100 increase in the median rent leads to an 8 to 10% increase in homelessness. So that's one big problem. But the other big problem is that people cannot find work right now. Last year, we created only 131,000 jobs across the country, but more than 1.3 million people entered the workforce. So that's untenable, and that's why I support a federal jobs guarantee, and we should be doing public housing. Now, there's been an arbitrary ban on new public housing development since 1999. We need to overturn that. We also need to actually build public housing. We need public investment for low and middle income housing, because real estate developers cannot make enough profit in order to actually build them, so they don't. I think that we also need to actually do bans on corporate and foreign speculative ownership of American single-family homes. It makes no sense that we allow people who do not live here to own our properties. We need to be making it so more people can actually live and work here. And by doing those things, we'll be putting downward pressure on the development. We'll also be increasing the supply directly, and that'll mean that everyone can actually have a home, because I think housing is a basic need, and we should respect it as such.
So here's the things we're currently doing. Housing is often a local issue. The County of Sacramento has a lot of vacant land, vacant property. Talk to the developers. They can build 2-bedroom, 1-bath homes for $200,000 starter homes. They can't do it with the cost of land. They can't do it with the current regulatory environment. I have convened the county staff to give that land up to those developers, take that cost out. Other things that we can do, Chris Bennett's correct. We we need to understand how much private equity came in during the Great Recession and how much they currently own in terms of housing stock. Donald Trump said, get private equity out of, let's call his bluff on it. Let's put that bill on the floor. Let's go to the Republicans and say, hey, Donald Trump wants this. Let's get private equity out of this. Other things that we can do are going to continue to do the VASH vouchers and things like that. But those are things that we can immediately do.
All right, it's time for closing remarks, and we're going to mix it up, not go right down the line. We're going to begin, and I'm going to announce your party now, just so people know and remember. But we're going to begin with you, Christine Bish, Republican Party candidate for Congress.
My name is Christine Bish, and I am a candidate for California's 3rd Congressional District. There are a lot of things that we can do at the federal level that doesn't just focus on Arden Arcade, but the entire district. And part of that is working now, because I only have 2 years when elected, and that's bringing forth the Wildfire Act. That's going to help us change the way we do insurance, not just in California, but across the country. I'm also working on a piece of legislation to reactivate closed nuclear power plants with clean, renewable, safe nuclear power. By taking Rancho Seco, reactivating it with modern technology, we'll be able, within 2 years, drop the utility bills in California. These are only a couple of the plans that I have that I'm already working on, and it is going to affect us immediately. Make California livable again, allow us to stay in our homes, stay in our state, stay in our schools, and rebuild our communities. But it's coming at the federal level that not just helps California, but our nation. Thank you.
Okay, Chris Richardson is the Green Party candidate for Congress.
And the question was?
Your closing statement.
Closing statement. Okay. Well, I'm Chris Richardson, and I am the Green Party candidate running for Congress in District 3. And basically, I'm running because I've got tired of waiting for the Democrats and the Republicans to do the right thing. They had Roe v. Wade for 30 years and failed to codify it, and they really should have. And so what I'm looking forward to doing is to helping the environment, cut down on fossil fuels, and get us moving towards actually having renewable energy in the form of magnetic engines. It's a subversive technology that's been held back.
And Pacey Cervantes is the Democratic Party nominee, or
Yes. No, please continue.
Sorry.
Please continue.
sorry,
Speak it into the universe for me.
Democratic Party candidate for Congress. Go, Pacey.
I think she just elected me, so hey, we can go home. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't even vote in this race.
No, just kidding. I would love to be your nominee. Hey, I'm Lyndon Pacey Cervantes. So a lot of what we've spoken about, probably 95% of what we've spoken about, comes down to affordability. Listen, like I said, I have been a trusted voice on the radio for 15 years, 105.1 KHCI, now 100.5 and more. I've gotten this specific community, Arden Arcade, through many crises, including COVID. What I didn't tell you about is quickly that my mom was my best friend. I was her caretaker for 3 years, and she is unfortunately not with us. She's dead because the federal healthcare system essentially failed her. She could not afford her life-saving medical care that she needed to survive, which is why I'm running for Congress. I will tell you, Republicans, while Republicans are trying to take away healthcare, I want to expand it. I want to expand Medicare for all, including current congressional Democrats that, once they have power, will probably do nothing as usual. It is a critical time for new blood for Congress instead of re-electing the establishment. So please donate, CervantesForCongress.com.
And Chris Bennett, Democratic candidate for Congress.
This is an existential moment for our democracy. The stunning concentration of wealth in the hands of an elite, unaccountable few is a direct threat to every ideal that we hold dear. We're watching the decimation of labor and union and human rights with attacks against our right to organize, the stagnation of wages at every level, and even the Constitution. Now the cost is more than we can bear, and we're being told by politicians and corporate media that we should be blaming immigrants and trans people instead of the decision makers and policies that are actually responsible. It's time to reverse course and re-embrace our democratic principles. We all have more in common than separates us. It's not left versus right, it's not us versus them, it's top versus everyone else. We're part of a movement that is sweeping across the country from New York to Georgia to Minnesota, and it's happening here right now. If you want to be part of that movement, be part of that change, then please join us and go to bennettforca.com. That's BENNETTFORCA.com so you can learn more and sign up. Thank you.
And Democratic candidate for Congress, Bera.
Great, thank you. I want to thank the League. I want to thank all of you who showed up in person, those that are going to watch. And I also want to thank the folks that are running. It is not easy to run for Congress, and it takes a lot of time and energy, and thank you. That is core to our democracy. It's been an honor for me to serve this community for the 7 terms I've been in Congress. This is the hardest it's ever been. We have a rogue president, but life has become increasingly difficult, not just for those on the lower rungs of the ladder, for the middle class and everyone else. And Chris is actually accurate that wealthy few at the top are doing very well, and we've got to figure out how to rebuild that American dream. This is an incredibly diverse district. As Christine Bish said, goes all the way down from South Sacramento all the way up to the Tahoe Basin. Lots of different issues. It is going to take all of us working together, regardless of who wins this election, working together to bring representation, to bring the voice of the people here. So vote on June 2nd. Whoever you vote for, your vote is your voice, and that's how democracy works.
And Robb Tucker, Republican candidate for Congress.
Go for it.
Yeah, you mentioned party, and here in California, we've had 16 years of a supermajority. And I can tell you, I hope everyone would agree, it hasn't worked out real well. We pay the most, and we get the least. Homelessness, education, roads. So I think we need to stop doing the same thing over and over again that we've been doing for 16 years. I wrote something down there. But yeah, we're focusing on personalities and not policies. This is what we're hearing up here, because if we focus on the policies here in California that have got us where we are, we're in trouble. So we focus on personalities. I'm proud to be endorsed by common sense, yes, Republicans who have served this community like Roger Nilo and like John McGinnis. Sheriff John McGinnis. These are common sense leaders. Instead, we're talking about policies, and that we pass Prop 36, we don't fund it. And then now we decide, let's change the districts, because if we talk about policies, they're failing in California. We heard a lot about tonight. I think there's a clear choice. Thank you for being here tonight.
Okay, Heidi Hall, the Democratic candidate for Congress.
Thank you to everyone who came out tonight. We have had some fun up here tonight, but this is actually an incredibly serious time. We're at a moment that demands more than radical civility and strongly worded letters. The cost of living is crushing working families. And in Washington, politicians prioritize corporations and billionaires over the rest of us. We have a lawless administration running amok, and yes, this matters. Dismantling protections, ignoring the law, attacking people and institutions we depend on. And too many entrenched Democrats are not fighting back with the urgency this moment demands. We need fighters in Congress right now. Here on the ground, I've met challenges that others continue to miss the mark on. While politicians talk and fund programs that don't work, I led the way on a homeless program from the ground up that treats people with dignity and delivers real relief. As a lifelong environmentalist, I've led the way in tackling the climate crisis, advocating for green energy, and fighting big oil. This is what fighting looks like. I'm excited to work with people here in the Arden Arcade to meet the challenges that they have here, and that is why I'm asking for your vote, for the families who need someone in that seat who will fight like it's personal, because for me, it is. Go to HeidiHall.com to join our coalition and fight for a brighter future.
Thank you. Okay. Now, before I thank everybody else, I think Ami Bera said it. It's not easy to run for Congress, right? Would you do it? I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it.
I would, no.
But here we have 8 people that are willing to run for Congress in District 3. Let's give them a hand. So thank you, League Timers, Morgan and Claudia, and thanks to the sponsors, Arden and Cade Advocates and the Greater Arden Chamber of Commerce. And thank you all and the overall community for the good questions. And being here tonight shows you're really engaged civically. That's important. So do you all have your pink ballot, your pink envelope? You've gotten your ballot. If you haven't, call the elections department right away. Sit around the table, talk about your choices, think about it, and you can get more information at vote411.org. And then when you're ready, you can return your ballot by mail, or you can put it in a secure drop box anywhere in the county. And then as we get closer to June 2nd, you can also vote in person at a vote center anywhere in the county. So don't wait till election day to vote. Do it as, when you feel right, but if you wait till the last day, you're not in those numbers that they show on election night. So we recommend that if you can, vote early. And I also want to note that this forum, thank you, Access Sacramento, because they came here tonight and set all this up. And it's great that they did it, because not only people in the room are going to hear this, but this forum is being recorded, and it will be live on Access Sacramento, Channel 17, in the morning, because these people are going to go home and make sure that it's loaded up and ready in the morning for you. So we hope that you are a more informed, what? On the YouTube, Laura. Oh, on the YouTube, yeah, on the YouTube channel at Access Sacramento. So we hope you're a more informed voter, and you'll help spread the word about the importance of voting and the importance of voting early. Good night. Thank you all. Yeah, Chris, Ami, thank you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for doing that.